Today, we're breaking down 7 undeniable signs you're still a simp. Most men deny that they are simps because they don't know what simps actually do, which is why I have made this video today. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single one, because the signs I have compiled in this video aren't the usual ones you've seen or heard. So grab your popcorn as usual, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into the video. 1. You tell her the things you have in common, hoping she recognizes them too. This is one of the most subtle forms of simping because on the surface it looks harmless. It looks like you're just trying to connect. But deep down, you're not sharing these similarities because you genuinely want a conversation. You're sharing them because you're hoping she'll finally notice you. You're hoping she'll say, "Wow, we're so alike," and suddenly see your value. That's the trap. Real confidence doesn't need validation through similarities. A strong man doesn't present a list of matching traits like a resume hoping to get approved. He lets the conversation flow naturally. He knows that real attraction isn't created by pointing out similarities. It's created by presence, by energy, by self-respect. When you highlight similarities because you want her to see you as compatible, you give away your self-respect. You're not being yourself, you're auditioning. And anytime you're auditioning for someone's approval, you've already lost the frame. A man with self-respect doesn't try to convince anyone he's a good fit. He shows up as he is and lets people decide on their own. 2. When you fight with your male friends in front of her, or because of her, over something negligible. This is one of the clearest signs you've slipped into simp territory because it shows you've lost control of your priorities. A woman should never become the reason you disrespect the men who have stood beside you long before she appeared. When you argue with your boys just to impress her. When you switch sides to look good in front of her. When you blow up a tiny disagreement just to show you're defending her. You're not being loyal, you're being performative. You're putting on a show, hoping she sees you as the hero. But here's the truth. A woman doesn't respect a man who throws away his own tribe just to score emotional points. It actually makes you look weak. It tells her you don't have your own backbone. You bend based on what she says or who's watching. Brotherhood is not something you gamble with to impress someone who might not even stay. Your friends are the ones who know your flaws, your history, your stories. They're the ones who call you out, not flatter you. When you start fighting them over tiny things that can be easily overlooked just because a girl is present, you're not protecting her. You're betraying yourself, and your homies, of course. A man with self-respect doesn't create conflict to get her attention. He maintains his relationships, controls his reactions, and never lets a temporary emotion destroy long-term bonds. If you're willing to burn bridges for her approval, you're not in love, you're simping. 3. Watching every single story of hers. Even worse, commenting on every single one of them. This is one of the quietest but most obvious signs you're still a simp, because it reveals your mindset more than your actions. When you watch every story she posts, you're not just keeping up, you're monitoring her. You're orbiting her life, hoping she notices your presence, hoping she sees your name in the viewer list and thinks about you. And when you add comments on top of that, that's when it becomes desperate. You're not commenting because you genuinely have something to say. You're commenting because you want to remind her you exist. You're fishing for a reaction, a like, a reply, a small dose of attention. Here's the truth you don't want to admit. You don't watch her stories because they're interesting. You and I know that girls aren't that interesting or funny. You watch them because you want to feel you have access to her life and hoping she notices you. A man with standards doesn't obsess over someone who barely acknowledges him. He doesn't treat her posts like homework. He doesn't study her life like an exam. Strong men consume content that builds their mind, their goals, their future, not content that keeps them emotionally tied to someone who doesn't feel the same. I didn't say viewing the story of a girl you like is bad. It becomes bad when you react to most of them and give her beauty affirmations on top of it. What you should do when a girl you like posts pictures of herself is this: look at them, like just one or two of the ones you genuinely like the most, and leave the rest. Don't comment. What this does is let her know that the rest of the unliked pictures aren't your taste, and that you're not a simp. If you're glued to her stories, refreshing them, reacting to all of them, commenting on them, then I'm sorry, but you're a pitiful simp. 4. Keeping a conversation going when she gives you one-word responses, thinking you'll somehow change things in your favor. This is one of the most painful forms of simping because it's built on hope, not reality. When she replies with lol, okay, yeah, or sure, she's not being shy, she's being dismissive. She's telling you without saying it directly that she's not interested, but instead of accepting that, you convince yourself you just need to try harder. You send longer messages, you ask more questions, you keep the conversation alive even though she's giving it zero effort. That's not persistence. That's foolishness. A man with self-respect reads the energy he's given. If she's dry, uninterested, or distant, he steps back. He values his time too much to force a connection, but a simp believes he can turn it around. He thinks if he just says the right thing, if he just keeps talking, if he just entertains her long enough, she'll suddenly wake up and appreciate him. It never works. Women don't fall for men they pity, they fall for men they respect. And the moment you keep pouring energy into someone who can't even type a real sentence back, you lose that respect, not just from her, but from yourself. A strong man knows when to stop. A weak man keeps typing, hoping for a miracle. If you're trying to revive a conversation she already buried, you're not building attraction, you're simping. 5. Taking her out on a date she has instructed you on planning. This is a strong sign you're still a simp because it shows you've completely surrendered your role. A woman giving you suggestions is normal, but a woman dictating the entire date, where to go, what to do, what time, what you should wear, what you should order, that's not a date. That's you following instructions because you're scared to disappoint her. When you let her plan everything, you're not leading, you're complying. You're not expressing your personality, you're trying to earn points. You're not taking her out. You're escorting her to her own idea of a perfect evening, hoping she'll reward you with approval. She's not impressed by that. If anything, she sees it as a lack of initiative, a lack of direction, a lack of backbone, a lack of confidence. Women don't respect a man who can't make decisions without being told what to do, and deep down, you know this. That's why you overthink every detail she gives you. You're terrified of messing up, terrified she'll judge you, terrified this is your one shot. But here's the truth. A man who can't plan a date can't lead a relationship. A confident man doesn't wait for instructions. He decides, he plans, he sets the tone and lets her join him, not the other way around. If she's doing all the thinking and you're doing all the following, you're not being thoughtful. You're being controlled. And the moment you start letting a woman shape your moves because you're afraid of losing her, you've already lost yourself. If you're only taking her out on dates she designs, you're not courting her, you're simping. 6. When she brings her friend to the date and you just continue the date, even worse, you pay for them both. This is one of the highest levels of simping because it shows you have no boundaries and no awareness of disrespect. If she shows up with a friend on what was supposed to be a date, she's sending a very clear message. You're not special. You're not my priority. You're entertainment. She's treating the moment and you casually, not romantically, not seriously, not respectfully. And when you accept it without question, when you sit there faking a smile, pretending everything is normal, when you pull out your wallet and pay for both of them, that's the moment you prove exactly why she doesn't take you seriously. A man with self-respect sees this for what it is, a test, a boundary push, a moment that reveals the power dynamic. A strong man doesn't stay, he doesn't negotiate. He doesn't tolerate being treated like an ATM with emotions. He simply says, "I wasn't expecting company, let's reschedule," and he leaves. The girl would probably say he's not a real man. But that's code for he's not stupid. But a simp? He forces a smile. He makes small talk with her friend. He pays the bill like he's trying to win a competition he was never invited into. He thinks being nice will make him look like a good man, but in reality, it makes him look like a man who allows himself to be used. Understand this. When a woman respects you, she shows up alone. When she doesn't, she brings distractions. And even when she comes with a friend, probably for security reasons, you won't even notice because the friend would be on the other side of the restaurant, watching from afar, not anywhere close to the two of you. But when she shows up with her friend, and when you reward her disrespect by paying for her friend like a walking ATM card, you teach her one thing, that she can disrespect you again, and you'll still neglect it. At that point, you're not on a date. You're simping at a table for 3. 7. Telling her you hurt me or that was hurtful when you get offended by her. This one cuts deep because it feels honest. It feels like you're simply expressing your emotions. But in reality, it often reveals something else. You're trying to guilt trip her into caring about you more than she actually does. When you rush to tell her you hurt me, you're not being vulnerable. You're trying to make her responsible for how you feel. You're hoping she'll suddenly soften, apologize, and give you the validation she normally withholds. But here's the truth. A woman who respects you doesn't talk to you in a way that hurts you intentionally, and a woman who doesn't respect you won't suddenly respect you because you complained. In fact, telling her she hurt your feelings often makes you look even weaker in her eyes. Not because expressing emotion is wrong, but because the context exposes your intentions. You're trying to pull her closer by acting wounded. You're trying to save the connection by showing emotional dependency. You're trying to turn her lack of interest into sympathy. And sympathy never turns into attraction. A man with self-respect doesn't whine about being hurt. He sets boundaries. He speaks calmly. He walks away from disrespect without announcing his pain like a public service message. He doesn't say, "You hurt me." He says, "I'm not dealing with this energy." And he removes himself. One approach protects your dignity. The other exposes your neediness. If the only tool you have left is emotional softness, hoping she'll finally care, you're not being vulnerable. You're still simping. If you recognized yourself in even one of these signs, it's time to stop giving away your power. Step back, set boundaries, and remember, respect is earned, not begged for. Don't simp, lead your life on your terms. And if you found this helpful and you want part 2, hit that like button, subscribe, and type part 2 in the comments. Thanks for watching.